Alright, hey eavesdroppers. I was going to sit outside and do this today, but everybody's mowing in the neighborhood and you can't hear anything. So here we are, back to a black screen for now. What I wanted to talk about today is the flow of energy and how that actually works. And I see it played out in my life and in everybody else's life around me, even when they can't see it. And so we've got to start all the way back to, let's start with how energy works when you are on an energetic path. So if you think about spirit and what spirit is, and you know that spirit is the spirit of the source from which everything comes from, existence, which that's all the source is just existence. It's always been there. It's always going to be there. It's never going to not be there in some form or fashion. Okay? And so what you have to understand whenever you're moving through life is that everything travels along circuits, just like the planets orbit around the sun on an orbit. That's their circuit. Like, you have a house that has a breaker box where everything is wired through the breaker box being like the source, and all of the wires coming from is the circuit that the electricity travels on that goes all the way around your house and, whatever. So when you understand that all energy travels on a circuit, it kind of makes a little bit better sense. And, everything is in a loop. Everything is in a loop of some sort. And now, so when you're traveling along your circuit, what you got to understand is that is like an energy highway. The circuit is. And so whatever you do on your circuit, it just sends that energy down your circuit. And eventually it will come back to you. Okay, so for example, if you're the type of person that you move along your circuit and you cross paths with somebody, I forgot what that's called electronically, like whenever two circuits intersect, I forget what it's called. But you cross paths with somebody else's circuit, and it does absolutely happen. And this happens for a reason. Like everybody meets everybody for a reason, and it's what you do on your circuit that could possibly affect what happens on their circuit, and you have to be really aware of that. And so if you're traveling on your circuit and you run across a situation on your circuit and it makes you have really ill feelings, towards another person on their circuit or whatever, and you go through a situation with somebody and you process it, and then you decide that you hate that person. From now on, you don't want nothing to do with that person, da-da-da-da-da. Well, that's fine. You can do that. But what you ultimately end up doing by hating is you're sending that vibration of hate down your circuit. And it's going to hit everything that you that you cross circuits with, that hate is. And it's, hate's a pretty ugly emotion, and so, but eventually that hate's going to hit, whatever is on your circuit path. It's going to hit that, and it's going to do one of two things. It's either going to be able to dissipate into something, else, or it's going to build. It's going to charge going down your circuit. And eventually that hate that you've, have for this one person, you won't let it go, you won't let it be or whatever, and you just want to hate, and you spend all day hating somebody, eventually that's going to come, that hate is going to build, it's going to charge, and it's going to gain speed, and it's going to gain strength, and it's going to come all the way back around, just like you're on, like a NASCAR track or something. It's going to come back around, and it's going to lap you. That's why they say what goes around comes around. And so I've really strived a lot, and it's taken me a long time to be able to do this thing, But I've really strived to not carry hate and resentment and spite and revenge and all that, because if that's what you're sending on your circuit, that's the vibration that you're putting out, then that's what's going to come back and get you. And why in the hell would I send myself a kick in the ass for later? That's going to be even way huger, And so that's why, when I tell people, I don't tell lies. I don't. I tell my perspective, and if my perspective isn't in line with yours, then maybe it feels like a lie or whatever. But I know I'm not telling no lies, because this is my perspective. This is, shit that happened to me, my experiences, and what I'm choosing to hold on to and what I'm not choosing to hold on to. And I do everything I possibly can in life to only send, positive vibrations down my circuit, no matter what happens, And I've been hurt and betrayed and lied to and lied to and lied to, by so many people, that, they don't want to take accountability. They don't want to own up their part of it, but they sure want me to own mine, kind of people. And the thing is a lot of these people are people that I love, that I have real love for and have always had real love for and will always have real love for them, But at the same time, when they come at me and they're still spewing hate and this and that, and, well then, maybe you're not somebody that I need on my circuit anymore, if that's what you promote. And so whenever you are out there hating on somebody, hating on their shine, hating on what they're trying to do, just like with this YouTube channel, I'm trying to get it going. I'm trying different things. I'm posting some shorts. Some things are working, some things aren't. We'll see where it goes. I'm not really, like I said, I'm not really expecting anything major out of this YouTube channel. It's just something out there for people to get a message for. And so the message for today is the flow of energy. And so you've got to understand how the flow of energy works in order for you to really be conscious about what you're sending down on your circuit. And so when you understand the process of vibration and frequencies, because everything around you, from the pencil on your desk to the tree outside, it all has a vibration, a frequency. Why does it have that? It has that because it's made of matter. And matter is made of atoms and molecules. And with an atom, you have to realize, that it is constantly moving, it is spinning. There's electrons and neutrons spinning around the nucleus of an atom. And that creates vibration. And so in your brain, when you have a thought, and this is scientific, y'all can look it up. When you have a thought, brain activity, it actually produces a measurable amount of electricity, and that is what sends all the signals from your brain to the rest of your body to keep you breathing, to keep your heart beating, to tell your toe to wiggle when you want it to. It all travels through this electricity, okay? And it's a vibration, a vibrational thought. So when you think something, if it's a good thought, well, that vibration that's kind of coming out. That's coming out of you. You're emitting that vibration, that good thought. Same thing with a bad thought. And so, how does it's why you really got to be mindful of your thoughts. I really try not to sit here and hate people. I really try not to think bad about people. That's why I analyze people. I try to get down to the bottom of the person that they are. Like, why are they like that? So that I can find some way to be empathetic with them enough to show them some kind of a love or some kind of a kindness, because it might be the only thing that they ever, remember about me, so you can sit there and hate me all you want to. But if the only thing that you can, if you make a list of all the reasons why you hate me, how really long is that list whenever I was just really, truly kind? And I am, to the bottom of my heart, like I'm a kind person. I know it hasn't seemed like that sometimes, but I really am a very kind, giving person. I want people to be happy. I want everybody to be happy. It's the whole reason I'm here, is to help raise the collective's vibrations. So when you have a thought, you've already thrown some vibration out onto your circuit. Now, when you speak that thought, now you're spell casting. There's a reason it's called spelling. There's a reason why you spell words. And it's called spell casting. Because you are essentially, that's part of the manifestation of your reality is the crap that you say. The stuff that you speak. And so now, once you've spoken the thought, be it good or bad or whatever, that is the reinforcement that you're sending down your circuit that is ultimately going to come back for you. And so that's why people who do cast black magic, like lying and manipulating and being deceptive and doing things, overstepping boundaries, all that, and when people lie on you or they don't understand you and they try to speak on you without knowledge, well, then that's anything that comes out of their mouth towards you is pretty much going to be black magic, because you're in the darkness about yourself and about the person or whatever. And so, that's why it's a bad thing to throw lies down your circuit, because those lies are going to come back and get you. That deception's going to come back and get you. Just like the, the goodwill you do towards people. If you're constantly throwing kindness down your circuit, well, that's going to build and build and build and build. And people who are really appreciative of your kindness will recognize that, and they'll step up for it, or pass it along. I'm always a big person to pay it forward. I don't want you to pay me back, because you can't get anywhere going backwards. Just pay it forward to the next person that comes along your path that might need that help. Just pay it forward, and as long as you keep those vibrations going, those good vibrations, it's only going to build and build and build until you start vibrating higher. And only until you start vibrating at a different frequency, a different voltage, or whatever you want to call it, only then can you change circuits, But if you're held down by being so worried about what people are saying, and you're overthinking and overthinking and overthinking, well, that's also being put out onto your circuit, and all that overthinking is just going to come back and get you, later. And then it might be too late, to do whatever it was you were overthinking about doing or changing. Or, if you want to vibrate higher, you have to understand that you've got to change, and if you're happy traveling in a low vibrational circuit, well, then just keep doing the low vibrational stuff you're doing, which is the black magic, the lies, the behind the back talk, the, getting in somebody's ear about another person, or, whatever it is, sleeping with somebody's husband, or whatever it is. As long as you sit in that low vibrational pattern, you're never going to be anything but low vibrational. It doesn't matter how good of a person you try to be. There's a lot of people out there, in particular, that I really felt like they were really trying to be decent people, but they couldn't let go of their patterns. They couldn't let go of the low vibrational shit that was actually, that they felt so comfortable with, because it enabled them to continue the low vibrational stuff, by letting them, by convincing them it's okay that you're doing this. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing, when they probably felt like there was a lot wrong with what they were doing, but, it was accepted by the majority. And so they just went with it. Well, people who don't know how to raise their vibrations, they get stuck like that, and they get really, and then other people who see other people raising their vibrations and jumping that circuit to go into the next level circuit, they just get so jealous and so ugly about everything, and they have nothing good to say about that person. You see somebody, dude, I'm always so happy to see somebody that I know where they came from and what they were struggling through, to see them jump higher on the net. I don't care if they fucking walk around acting like, they're on a high horse. No, you know what? If that's how you feel, that somebody's walking around on a high horse or holier than thou or whatever, well, you know what? Maybe it wouldn't seem like a high horse if you weren't so down in the damn low vibrations that you had to look up to them, to see them, You got to look up, because they changed their vibrations. They ain't riding around trying to sell a high horse, motherfucker. They done bought that motherfucker. So if that's what you think they're riding, then they probably are. But maybe not in the way you're making it sound, And so, if that's for all the people that have ever fucking told me that I was on a high horse or that I was holier than thou. Well, you know what? I'm up here because I bought the goddamn saddle and I'm going to sit in it. And if you don't like it, then you can take your low vibrational butt back over to the toxic swimming pool, and go swim with the toxic low vibrational people that don't want to better their lives, that just depend on, whatever they depend on to eke their way through lives. I'm going to sit here on my high horse and march out of this shit, because I know I deserve better than the toxic swimming pool, and I know there's a lot of people in the toxic swimming pool swimming around in the toxicity that everybody deserves better, and that's why I will always say, a bitter Betty will never be a better Betty. Say that 50 times real fast. A bitter Betty will never be a better Betty. And you can sit here with the most perfect life that you could possibly have and be bitter about one thing that happened in your life or one person that you just can't get over what they did and what they didn't do or whatever, and be bitter about that. And that's not of spirit, that's not of spirit. Spirit doesn't want bitterness, doesn't want deception, doesn't want all the low vibrational shit. Spirit, you can only rejoin with spirit and get through to the next dimension if you vibrate very, very high, and the collective has a really hard time understanding that. And so when you understand that the energy flow, the way it flows, maybe one day I'll draw a diagram of it and post it or something, but that everything that you are worried about somebody else having or not having, that you realize you can have the same shit too. But you got to make the change. You have to evolve. You have to increase your 110 plug to a 220 plug or whatever, however you want to look at it, because the whole goal is to vibrate high enough to return back to source, and I'm going to eventually talking about the return to source and what that's all about too. But anyways, I just kind of wanted to explain that to everybody who didn't understand that as long as you're throwing hate and shade and all that shit on somebody else, that you're actually not really doing much to that person, as long as as long as they're moving correctly and they're moving as high vibrationally as they are with love, as long as that's what they're doing, then you can throw all that shade and the hate and all that shit all you want to, I want, I posted this message the other day about monitoring spirits, about how I used to be a monitoring spirit. I don't got to do that no more. I ain't got a clue what's going on with nobody but myself, and so, I just hope that everybody is moving with love and being right about shit, and that the people that love me, if there's things that are being said about me, that they're defending what they knew that I was about, and not letting the black magic cloud their thought, their thoughts and stuff about me. But if it is, well, then it is, and I can't do anything about that either. I don't have to care about it anymore, because I know how I'm vibrating. I know how I'm vibrating for sure, because I understand how the flow of energy goes, and that's what this channel is about, and that's what these messages are about, is helping people learn how to raise their own vibrations, and that's the thing, is you got to do it yourself. You can't depend upon somebody else. Being around this person makes me feel really good and high vibrational, and then turn around and realize how low vibrational that they were actually being, and knowing that that person spewing all that hate and that malice and all that shit towards somebody that you don't even really know that person. And I've said that to several people. Why are you talking so much shit about that motherfucker? You don't even know them, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, so many people do that, and I don't understand it. But once people understand about the energy flow, and to realize that all of the shit that you do, right down to the very thoughts that you think, is what's going to dictate what's waiting for you when it comes back to lap your ass, because it will. It gains speed. Everything you do gains speed. Good vibrations gain speed, If people want to sit in low vibrational circuits, then you let them sit there. You got to let them sit there until they either are so consumed by it that they end up in places they don't want to be, or they figure out, oh, hey, maybe I need to change some shit, break some patterns, and do something a little bit different, because I've already seen what's at the end of this pattern. I've already seen what's at the end of that pattern. I've done this 3 or 4 times, and I already see how the result's going to be. Don't matter what I tweak and what I touch and what I torch and with this and that. It's the same pattern. It's still the same pattern, and the only way sometimes that you can change patterns and get back on track with your circuit is if you remove yourself from the pattern. It's the only way. Especially if you're looped in somebody else's pattern. And so, but anyways, I hope that that clicked with some of y'all. Like, I'm still kind of shaky about how I'm explaining things, and hope I'm still doing an okay job. Like I said, this was a lot different trying to explain this to people on a one-on-one basis when they were coming to me asking me questions and stuff. It was easier to get into it. But and so, still working on posting stuff every day. I know I haven't been, but like the other day we went fishing. I posted a short about the lake and stuff and everything, but just like getting out like that, and just makes me really, really tired sometimes, and I just get real tired, and it seems like I got to take a couple days to recoup before I can, make another video. So I'm still working on it, but I just want to thank everybody who's listening. For anybody who is listening, thank you for eavesdropping on me while I sit here talking to myself in the dark.